You've likely noticed it before. Someone in your social circle goes completely quiet. There's no explosive argument, no lengthy explanation text, and no dramatic exit. They simply stop replying, stop showing up, and fade away. When this happens, the immediate reaction from the outside is usually negative. People assume the person walking away is cold, arrogant, or emotionally unstable, but psychology reveals a different reality. When someone severs their social ties, it is rarely a random or malicious choice. It points to a specific survival reflex. When the human brain is pushed past its functional limits by constant stress, it enters what psychologists call protection mode. The sudden social isolation that follows is a highly calculated defensive response to invisible psychological pressures that have finally become too heavy to carry. One of the primary triggers for this defense mechanism is emotional fatigue. The human mind has a strict capacity for how much cognitive weight it can process from external sources. Some individuals naturally fall into the role of the perpetual support system. They constantly listen to others' problems, offer advice, and absorb the emotional fallout of everyone in their circle. Over time, this continuous stream of external stress leads to psychological overload. The mind runs out of space for new emotional demands. To prevent total collapse, the brain enforces absolute distance to stop the incoming pressure. Cutting people out in this state serves as immediate emotional triage. It stops the bleeding of mental energy and prevents total psychological burnout. Beyond the effects of pure emotional exhaustion, protection mode can also be triggered by a sudden destruction of foundational trust. When someone experiences a deep betrayal from a trusted source, it introduces a condition known as betrayal sensitivity. This creates a paralyzing state of hypervigilance in the mind. A severe breach of trust forces the brain to rewire its threat detection system. It begins treating all future, and even adjacent, relationships as highly probable threats. Dropping an entire social circle after a betrayal is a preemptive quarantine. The mind shuts down access to ensure it cannot be subjected to that level of harm again. But isolation isn't exclusively a defense mechanism. Eventually, the mind transitions from hiding into a phase of rebuilding. They ignore glaring red flags, tolerate blatant disrespect, and hand out endless second chances. This long buildup of suppressed frustration eventually reaches a breaking point known as a boundary awakening. Society expects people to politely adjust boundaries, but the psychological reality is abrupt. When the realization hits, a sudden, impenetrable wall goes up. This boundary enforcement is the first step in identity reconstruction. This phase typically occurs in the aftermath of severe heartbreak, trauma, or massive personal growth. During this process, a person often realizes their previous social environment is incompatible with the new identity they are forming. The old habits and relationships no longer fit who they are becoming. Walking away becomes a necessary, intentional destruction of an outdated environment. It clears the required space for a new self to emerge. If you look closely at the internal experience of the person who walked away, you rarely find anger. What you find instead is a sudden, profound craving for absolute peace and quiet. The choice to cut people off serves as a quiet act of internal recovery. Creating absolute distance is sometimes the necessary silent price one must pay to ensure their own personal healing and psychological survival. If you want to learn more about the hidden psychology driving human behavior, subscribe to the channel for more insights.